Clashes and arrests at colleges across the country. Demonstrations are now coming to a head. Protesters, counter-protesters, and police are coming face to face. In some places, camps have now been cleared. In others, they've been allowed to stay for now. But the ripple effects are far-reaching. Thanks for joining us at 4. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Lisa Gonzalez. Some universities have canceled classes. Others are going remote for now. We have live team coverage of the protests with KCRA 3's Christopher Salas in our Washington bureau and Orko Manna at Sacramento State, where it is day 3 of an encampment. But first, Governor Newsom is condemning what he calls law enforcement's slow response to violence at UCLA, and he's demanding answers.
The university canceled all classes today. The chaos started around 10:45 last night between protesters and counter-protesters. That's the video you're watching right here. Witnesses say the people involved in the fighting used sticks and bars. They beat and kicked each other. Fireworks and smoke bombs were thrown, and demonstrators used barricades as weapons. Unarmed security guards were forced to run. Los Angeles police and CHP arrived after midnight, and Governor Newsom says that was too late. The governor also sent out a statement about this. It says, quote, "The right to free speech does not extend to inciting violence, vandalism, or lawlessness on campus." He goes on to say those who engage in illegal behavior must be held accountable for their actions, including through criminal prosecution, suspension, or expulsion. Closer to home, the protest at Sacramento State is still underway, and now there are some concerns about a counter-protest.
KCRA 3's Orko Manna is live from the Library Quad, and Orko, protesters have some safety measures today, right?
Yeah, Lisa, you'll notice one thing that's a little different about the encampment that student protesters have been staying at for 3 days now. These metal barricades have been put up, and that's because we're told that there was some word about counter-protests here. Now, student activists, student protesters out here tell us that the university said they were getting some information about possible counter-protests here at the Library Quad, and the officials offered the pro-Palestinian protesters the barricades. The students discussed and agreed that it would be beneficial to have the barrier around the encampment. At this point, we have not seen a counter-protest pop up, just an individual person with a sign. Students have been set up at the encampment since Monday, and I'm told the number of people inside has grown to about 60 at any given time. Protesters sent a list of demands to Sac State and the whole state university system. Those include disclosing all institutional expenditures, divesting from companies that participate in the occupation, colonization, and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people, defending student activism, and declaring the occupation of Palestine illegal and indefensible. Students tell us that they have been talking to the university about their demands, but they want to speak directly to the chancellor.
So our negotiations looked like within the Auxiliary of University Foundation that we were going to try and divest that. And as well, we demanded a meeting with the chancellor at the CSU level. It's obvious that our CSU administrations have their hands tied, and if that means that the CSUs band together and go and talk to the chancellor ourselves, then that's what we will do.
And back out here live again, I mentioned one individual that has a sign, but as what we've seen so far today, no large counter protests. That is the reason they put up these barricades. Now, the students here who are protesting tell me that they'll stay out here until they speak to the chancellor, until their demands are met. The university extended the initial permit, the initial allowance for this encampment that was supposed to expire at midnight last night, but that has been extended. They say that'll continue to be the case as long as everything remain safe here and that they follow campus policy. Reporting live at Sacramento State, Orko Manna, KCRA 3 News.
So, Orko, quick question. What is the university saying in regards to the negotiations?
Yeah, the university tells me that campus officials have spoken to the students that sent their demands to them, but they're not revealing what exactly that response is at that time. They do say that their main priority right now is making sure that everything stays safe. Back to you.
Orko Manna reporting live for us from Sac State. Thank you so much. We continue our team coverage now with the situation very different at other colleges and universities where violence has broken out.
KCRA 3's Christopher Salas shows us what's happening across the country as students are demanding their schools stop doing business with Israel.
Ty, Lisa, the situation is escalating on college campuses across the country with new arrests, class cancellations, and encampments popping up each day. Violent clashes between pro-Palestinian protesters and police continuing across the country Wednesday. At the University of Wisconsin-Madison, officers were injured and more than a dozen people arrested as police removed tents and encampments from campus.
We came here to ensure Chapter 18, the tenting policy, was enforced.
You can see that it's clearly a myth when people say that cops keep people safe. They clearly do not.
It comes following a night of violence. At UCLA, classes are canceled after pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli groups fought, kicked, and hit each other with sticks.
It is definitely violent in ways that previous demonstrations by the counter-protesters weren't.
At Columbia University, the campus that sparked the nationwide movement, its encampment was cleared out Wednesday after the NYPD forcibly removed people who were occupying a building Tuesday night.
There were individuals on the campus, should not have been there. There were people who are professionals, and we saw evidence of training. We saw a shift in tactics that were being used.
The White House says it will allow local officials to decide how best to handle the demonstrations.
Every American has the right to peacefully protest within the law. That is something that we believe. Seizing buildings, taking over buildings, is not peacefully protesting.
Back here in Washington, the House is set to vote on a bill against anti-Semitism. It comes in response to some Jewish students saying they feel unsafe on campus amid these protests. In Washington, I'm Christopher Salas, KCRA 3 News.
More than 1,000 protesters have been arrested over the last 2 weeks on universities across the U.S.